Chosen one, the prompting you keep dismissing as too small to be God, that is the prompting. And the reason this message reached you tonight is because the Father is done letting you postpone it. I want to settle something before we go any further. You have not been imagining the quiet pull. You have not been making it up. The reason it has felt so easy to argue away is because heaven rarely shouts when it is asking for obedience, and you have been listening for the wrong volume. So here is what is about to happen. In the next 30 minutes, 3 things will land on your spirit. The first is the exact reason God has been waiting on you instead of waiting for you. The second is the specific instruction that has been resurfacing in your thoughts no matter how many times you set it down. And the third is a sealing that places this assignment so deeply into your knowing that you cannot unhear it after this message ends. This is not encouragement. This is not motivation. This is the appointment your spirit recognized the moment my voice began. So settle in and let the Father finally be heard. Before we go further, I want to be direct with you about why staying to the end matters. By the time this message closes, you will know exactly which prompting in your life is the Father speaking and which one is your fear dressed in spiritual clothing. You will have 3 specific paths in your hands, with the third being the one almost no one teaches, but the one that most often turns the prompting into the breakthrough. You will receive a sealing at the end that will settle into your spirit so deeply you will not be able to unhear it tomorrow morning. And somewhere in the middle, I am going to share something specific that has been waking people back up to His voice. Stay through to the seal. Do not let the noise pull you out before it lands. One quick word before we continue. Everything I am sharing here is free, but if your spirit ever tells you there is more, the door is in the description and the pinned comment below. Only step through if you feel led. Let me bring you somewhere first. It is 4:47 in the morning. The kettle is whistling alone on the stove. The house is asleep. You are awake again, the way you have been waking lately, in an hour you did not choose, with a thought you did not invite. This is not insomnia. This is the hour the Father speaks to those He is preparing for something specific. There are 5 signs the Father has been speaking to you about this. I want to walk through them carefully, not so I can convince you, so you can recognize what your spirit has already been clocking. The first sign is a name that keeps surfacing. You see it on a license plate, you hear it in a podcast, an old colleague mentions it without context. The same name, more than 3 times in a single week. That is not coincidence. That is signaling. The second sign is a phrase, a specific cluster of words that appears in unrelated places. A verse a stranger sends you, a sentence in a book that fell open at random, a line from a conversation that lodged in your chest hours after the conversation ended. Same phrase, different mouths. That is a Father pattern. The third sign is the dream, not the regular kind, the kind that feels pre-lived, the kind where you wake up knowing you were given an instruction, even if the details have already started to dissolve. You spend the day chasing the residue. The fourth sign is the wave, an emotional wave that comes at quiet hours with no specific trigger. Tears in the parking lot before you go inside. Peace in the middle of an ordinary task. Grief out of nowhere over a thing you thought you had moved past. Your spirit is processing weight that is not just yours to carry. The fifth sign is the loosening, the detachment from old certainties. People you used to enjoy now drain you. Habits that used to soothe now feel hollow. You are not breaking. You are loosening, so that what comes next has room to land. The more of these you recognize, the closer you are to receiving what is on its way. If even one of these has happened in the last 72 hours, type 333 in the comments. Just 333. Let it be your way of saying, I see it. Now, let me show you what is actually happening from 3 angles. Because the signs are not the issue. The signs are just the surface. Maybe you have been asking the Father what He wants you to do. Maybe you have been begging Him for clarity. Maybe you have been bargaining, telling Him you will obey if he just makes the path obvious. Maybe you have been waiting for a sign so loud you could not miss it. And the answer has been there, quietly, patiently, the whole time. The first angle is what shows up in your behavior. You start something. He prompted you to start. A conversation, a change, a direction. You take one step, and then doubt floods in. You retreat. A few weeks later, the prompting comes back. You start again. You retreat again. You have been running this loop for years on the same prompting. Every retreat costs you a little more confidence in your ability to hear him at all. The second angle is what shows up in your emotional life. You have been carrying weight the Father never asked you to carry, the responsibility for someone else's choices, the fear of being the one who got it wrong, the shame of staying small while the people around you stayed comfortable with you small. None of that is your assignment. None of that came from heaven. You picked it up somewhere along the way, and you have been carrying it for so long you forgot it is not yours. The third angle is the spiritual one, and this is the one I need to slow down for, because the Father has been speaking. He has been speaking the whole time. He has not been silent. He has been waiting for you to be still long enough to recognize that what you have been calling your imagination has actually been his voice in a register you stopped trusting years ago. I hear the Father saying it like this: listen, I have not been silent. I have been waiting for you to be still long enough to hear what I have already said. The instruction has been on your shoulders for a long time. You have been treating it like a question. It is an answer. Take a breath with that. This pattern is common. It makes complete sense given what you have walked through. There is a reason it formed, and the reason is something almost no one names out loud, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Behavior is the symptom. Emotion is the symptom. The root is something else entirely. Let me show you. Here is the root. You have been waiting for clarity in order to act. The Father has been waiting for you to act in order to receive clarity. Read that twice in your head if you need to. The order you have been operating in is reversed. The whole modern instinct is to figure something out completely before we move. We want the plan. We want the assurance. We want the visible runway. And the spiritual world does not work that way, and never has. In the kingdom, obedience precedes revelation, not the other way around. Think of Samuel as a young boy in the temple. The first 3 times he heard the voice, he could not even tell whose it was. He thought it was the priest calling him from the next room. He kept showing up anyway. He kept saying yes anyway. The 4th time, when he finally said the words, "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening," that was not the moment he learned to hear the Father. That was the moment he stopped pretending he had not been hearing him all along. The hearing came first. The willingness to obey came first. The clarity came after. There is a Hebrew word for this. The word is shema. We translate it as listen, but that translation is shallow. Shema does not mean to passively let sound enter your ears. Shema means to hear with the intent to obey. The hearing already contains the yes. There is no gap between the listening and the response. They are one motion. This is the word the Father uses when he says the title of this message. Listen quickly is not about speed. Listen quickly is about disposition. He is not asking you to rush. He is asking you to stop separating the hearing from the obedience. The reason what you have been hearing has felt unclear is because you have been listening with a clause attached. You have been saying, "I will hear what he says, and then I will decide whether I will do it." That is not Shema. That is negotiation. And the spiritual world does not respond to negotiation. It responds to disposition. When you hear with the yes already inside the hearing, the clarity sharpens immediately. Things that felt like fog become specific. Things that felt like maybe become, this is the next step. The instruction has not changed. Your relationship to the instruction has changed. Now I want to add one more piece. because there is a reason this hearing has been getting harder for you over the years. It is not just spiritual, it is also biological. Researchers have been studying for decades how the human brain enters and leaves certain frequencies. There is a specific frequency the brain operates at when it is in a receiving state, not anxious, not analytical, not multitasking, just open. Some scientists call it the gamma range. Others have called it the genius frequency. Spiritually, it lines up almost exactly with what scripture would call shema mode. And here is the strange part. Children operate in this frequency naturally. They hear, they receive, they obey, they imagine, they create, almost effortlessly. Then, somewhere around age 7, in nearly every modern culture, that frequency starts to dim. They have a name for it. They call it the decline effect. By the time you are an adult, the frequency that used to be your default has been dialed almost completely down by school structures, by screen patterns, by the constant low-grade pressure of modern noise. So when you sit down to listen for the Father and you cannot quite tell which voice is which, it is not because he is not speaking. It is because the receiver in you has been dimmed for so long, you forgot it is dimmable in the first place. Which leads me into something I want to introduce you to before we go to the 3 paths. Because the path forward has 2 pieces, the spiritual piece and the practical piece, and both need attention if shema mode is going to come back online. There is a tool I want to name for you, because it is going to come up again later when we walk through the 3rd path in detail. It is called the Genius Song. It is not a meditation. It is not a manifestation track. It is a 7-minute audio sequence built by a neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake, who has spent over 30 years studying how the brain re-enters that gamma frequency I just described. Brain entrainment is the technical term. The institutions involved in the underlying research include MIT and Princeton, among others. The reason I am mentioning it now, in the middle of this message and not at the end, is because some of you already feel the pull. Some of you have been asking the Father for help with the listening side, and your spirit is recognizing the answer in real time. If that is you, the link is in the description below and the pinned comment. Do not rush. Stay with me for the full picture if you want the deeper context. But if you already know, the door is open. For everyone staying, here is what comes next. 3 specific paths. The 3rd is the one this conversation has been preparing you for. Take a breath here. We have covered a lot of ground. You came in with 5 signs your spirit had been clocking. You have a root cause. You have a Hebrew word for the disposition the Father has been waiting for. You know the science of what has been dimming your hearing, and you have a tool you can step toward whenever you are ready. What is left is the part this whole message has been building toward. In the 2nd part, I am going to lay out the 3 specific paths the Father is offering you. The first 2 require your discipline. The 3rd requires something almost no one talks about. And after we walk through them, I am going to declare something specific over your life. A ceiling. So that the assignment lands deep enough, you cannot unknow it tomorrow morning. Press like gently if any of this has landed. Let it carry to another listener whose hearing has been dimmed. And meet me in the 2nd part. Welcome back, chosen one. Let me bring you back into the frame. In the 1st part, we walked through 5 signs. We named the 3 angles your struggle has been showing up in. We found the root. The order you have been living in is reversed. You have been waiting for clarity in order to act. The Father has been waiting for you to act in order to give you clarity. Shema is the disposition. Hearing that already contains the yes. I told you, the 3rd path is the one almost no one talks about. There is a reason it gets skipped. It is the path that requires you to acknowledge that something in your hearing has been dulled, and that something can be turned back on. 3 paths. The first 2 are practices. The 3rd is a reactivation. Let me show you all 3. Your first path is something I am calling the stillness test. It sounds simple, and it is harder than it looks. Here is the practice. For the next 14 mornings, before you touch your phone, Before you say a word to anyone in the house, before you check the weather, you are going to give the Father 60 seconds of pure silence. Not prayer with words, not a worship track. 60 seconds of nothing, no instruction, no agenda. And here is the counterintuitive piece. You are not listening for a new word. You are listening for the word that comes back, uninvited. Every morning, write down the thought that surfaces during that minute that you did not put there. Just one line. 14 days, 14 lines. What returns again and again, not because you summoned it, but because it kept knocking. That is the prompting the Father has been speaking. Mary at the Annunciation did not get a 5-step plan. She got a sentence, and her response was, "Be it unto me according to your word." The yes came before the how. That is shema. Your second path is something I am calling the first, yes practice. This one is even more counterintuitive than the first. Most people, when they finally decide to obey, want to obey on the largest scale they can imagine. They want the dramatic yes, the career change, the cross-country move, the public announcement, and the Father almost never works that way. What he wants is the smallest yes. Within the next 24 hours, take action on one tiny prompting. Send the message, make the call, forgive the small thing. Whatever surfaced first when I said the word prompting just now, that one. Within 24 hours, I want to tell you about a teacher I know of, a woman in her late 40s. She had been carrying a prompting for almost 3 years to reach out to a former student she had taught when the student was 9. The prompting was small. It made no sense. The student would be in his 20s by now. She finally obeyed it on a Tuesday afternoon. She wrote a paragraph and sent it. 3 days later, he wrote back. He had been on the edge of something serious that week. Her message had landed exactly on the day he had asked God for one specific sign. Her tiny obedience was someone else's answered prayer. That is what the small yes is for. Your third path is the one this whole message has been building toward. The first two paths require your effort and your consistency. The third requires you to acknowledge something almost no one talks about. The reason you have been struggling to hear is not just spiritual. It is also that the receiver in you has been dulled by years of modern living, and that receiver can be reactivated. This is where the genius song fits in. Remember when I introduced it earlier? This is where it becomes the path. The first two paths are what you do. The third path is what gets done in you. And the three together is what Shema mode looks like, fully restored. Before I walk you through the full picture of that third path, let me settle what we have covered. 5 signs, 3 angles, 1 root, 1 Hebrew word for the disposition, 2 practices, the stillness test, and the first, yes, and 1 reactivation tool. That is the framework. Type the words I receive in the comments if your spirit just confirmed any part of that. Now let me walk you through the third path in full. You were not born ordinary. The frequency I have been describing, the gamma range, the receiving register, the brain enters when it is in Shema mode. That frequency was online in you the day you were born. Children come in with it fully active. That is why they hear so easily, why they imagine without effort, why they catch on to things adults take years to grasp. That capacity was the Father's design. It is not metaphor, it is biology. And it is in your inheritance, not in your striving. Remember when I mentioned the genius song earlier and asked you to keep listening for the deeper context? This is that moment. Let me walk you through what it actually is. Decades of research, much of it through MIT, Princeton, and several other leading institutions, have studied how the brain re-enters the gamma frequency. The technical term is brain entrainment. The audio carries embedded sound patterns that gently coax the brain back into the frequency it operated in before the decline effect began dimming it around age 7. Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years working on this exact problem. The audio you hear is the result of that work compressed into 7 minutes. You sit, you put on headphones, you close your eyes, you let it play. That is the entire instruction. I want to tell you briefly about a man in his late 40s, a provider who had been carrying his family for years and felt his hearing dim to almost nothing under the weight of it. He used the audio for the first time on a Sunday evening. The next morning, he heard a clear instruction about a financial decision he had been wrestling with for months. He acted on it that week. The shift was specific. He did not become a different man. The receiver in him came back online. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You have tried meditation. You have tried manifestation tracks. You have tried mindfulness apps. They did not change your hearing. I hear you. This is not those. Those rely on you doing the work consciously. Brain entrainment is passive. The audio does the work while you sit. That is the difference, and it is why it tends to land for people who have already tried everything else. Now to the practical part. If you went to a biofeedback therapy clinic to do something similar, you would be looking at around $300 a session, repeated weekly for months. A meditation app subscription is about $15 a month and does not target gamma specifically. A weekend retreat runs $400 to $800. Single therapy sessions average around $150. None of these target the frequency doctor. Lake has been mapping for over 3 decades. The original price for the Genius song is $49. For those reached through this message, it has been brought down to $39. One time. No subscription. Delivered to your inbox the moment you receive it. There are also 4 supporting items included at no additional cost. The total stated value of those 4 together is $80. The first is a calibrated track for children. The second is a copy of the original book that the film, The Secret, was inspired by. The third is a guided audio walkthrough for 4 areas of life. The fourth is a small daily habits sheet for keeping gamma activated long-term. $80 in supporting tools, included with the $39. There is a 90-day window. If at any point in those 90 days you feel it has not done what was described, the team will refund you, and you keep the 4 supporting items anyway. Out of the more than 18,000 people who have used it so far, fewer than 4% have asked for that refund. The rest kept going. The only real risk is not trying. One thing I have to be honest about. There are counterfeit versions floating around online that use the same name. They are not the same product. Different audio. No bonuses. No guarantee. The only place to receive the genuine technology is through the link in the description and the pinned comment below. Do not search Amazon. Do not search Spotify. Only the link below. Take a breath right where you are. Place your hand over your chest if it feels right. The decision in front of you is not whether $39 is worth it. The decision is whether you are willing to act on what your spirit has already recognized. If yes, the link is below. Your spirit knows what to do. The Genius song is waiting for the ones who already know. Take a breath. Let me bring everything back to plain language, so you do not leave here confused. You came in carrying signs your spirit had been logging without your permission. We named 5 of them. You came in with a struggle that was showing up in your behavior, your emotions, and your spirit. We named the root. You have been waiting for clarity in order to act. The Father has been waiting for you to act in order to release clarity. Shema. Here, with the yes, already inside the hearing. You now have 3 paths. 60 seconds of morning silence for 14 days, 1 small obedience inside 24 hours, and the option to reactivate the receiver itself if you choose to. That is the whole picture. There is no more information coming. What is left is the seal. Close your eyes for the next 60 seconds, wherever you are. If you are driving, just keep driving and stay with my voice. Picture yourself standing in a wide open field at first light. The grass is wet. The horizon is gold. There is a single envelope on the ground in front of you. Your name is on the front. in handwriting you do not recognize, sealed with a mark you have only ever seen in dreams. Pick it up in your mind. Do not open it yet. Feel the weight of it. The instruction inside is the same instruction that has been resurfacing in your thoughts for months. You already know what it says. You have known for a long time. Now feel the recognition settle, the knowing that this is what he has been asking. Stay there for one more breath. Open your eyes when you are ready. Look at what you have just walked through. You came in dim. You came in tired of guessing. You came in carrying things that were never your assignment. And you have spent the last half hour having a conversation with heaven that you did not plan. That is not nothing. That is what was always supposed to happen tonight. Now picture the explanations you have been preparing in your head for the people who will not understand why you finally obeyed. The justifications, the defenses, the arguments you have been rehearsing in case someone asks. Picture them as paper in your hand. A small stack, slightly crumpled. Open your hand. Let them go. You do not owe an explanation for an obedience you did not invent. Heaven is not requiring you to defend the assignment. Heaven is requiring you to walk it. I hear the Father saying this. Listen, I am not asking you to be sure. I am asking you to be willing. The clarity is on the other side of the step. Take it. Now stand up on the inside, even if you stay where you are sitting. You hear, you answer, you move. I am a listener. I am a vessel of obedience. I am a first responder to heaven's whisper. Say it again, but quieter, where it cannot be performed, where only the Father hears it. I am a listener. I am a vessel of obedience. I am a first responder to heaven's whisper. Stay there for 30 more seconds. Do not say Amen yet. Do not close it out. Sit in this frequency. Let it settle into the bones of your week. When you are ready, it is sealed. It is done. You are not the person you were when this message began. If your spirit is on its feet, type the words I hear and I move in the comments. Let it be your seal before heaven. Press like and let it carry to another listener whose hearing has been dimmed. If the Genius song is the door for you, the link is in the description and the pinned comment. Only step through if you feel led. If a name came to mind during this message, someone who has been carrying a quiet prompting in silence, send this to them. Your obedience could be their answer. You are not leaving a message tonight, chosen one. You are leaving a season,